AI, or artificial intelligence. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I think everybody is. And I think to some extent, everybody uses it. For me, I've been using it as an author, and I found it very useful. I've been using it to help out with a book proposal to get everything in order. Because when a publisher says, we want your overview to be 2 pages, they mean it. They will not read the third page. So if you don't have everything concise the way it's wanted, they don't do it. And I find that AI helps me out a lot with that. I don't use it to write for me, I use it to give ideas. And we're going to delve further into this because I think we're going to have a nice spirited conversation because my guest this morning, I'll let her introduce herself, but I think she's got a little different take on it. So we'll see what develops over the course of this conversation. And as always, I'll introduce myself. I'm Teresa Palmer. I'm a holistic cardiology nurse practitioner, author of the book Heal Your Heart from Within. I'm a member of the Hay House Authors community, and that's actually where I learned to use AI for authorship. And I'm also a contributing author to Own It magazine, and I've been guest hosting this platform. And now, thank you for joining us, everyone who's ever listening. We're going to have a good conversation. I'm going to let Stephanie introduce herself, and then she could give you her insights as to either how she uses AI, what she likes about it, what she doesn't, what it does for business. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie.
Thanks. My name is Stephanie Malink. I own Malink Publishing, which has 3 subsidiaries, Right by Steph, Collinsville Daily News, and Granite City Daily News. And AI is something that I have struggled with ever before I bought the newspapers, when I just had my freelance business. AI has pretty much taken my business. People don't want help writing things anymore. They're like, oh, I don't need editing. I can use the Chat GPT to rewrite my work for me. Or I can use dictionary.com, which is now an AI-based platform, or thesaurus.com. And if I get stuck on an idea, I can just use Chat GPT. What people do not realize is, number one, anything you put into Chat GPT, it is no longer yours. You cannot copyright it. It is sent out to the everyone else that uses Chat GPT. So your idea that you're looking for is eventually going to become someone else's idea. As far as cover art, designing, and all that, if you use an AI cover, it's just going to look cheap. It's got a 2D dimension to it. It's got a funny gloss that doesn't look like a real photograph. A lot of the publishers are not as nice as Hay House. If you use ChatGPT or any form of AI anywhere in your book, they will blacklist it, not publish it. It depends on who it is. Amazon is one that if your book has AI, and really anyone that uses this, I do not recommend it. You need to disclose that you're using AI in your book, because if it's found out that you used AI and you did not disclose it, then you're going to be in legal trouble.
Yeah, I think that's if you are quoting, if you are actually using, like say you're a student and you're doing a dissertation and you're just using AI and you're copying it. You're copying it from the Chat GPT, you're putting it into yours and you're not changing it around. Hay House certainly doesn't advocate that at all. But what they advocate is that to get your ideas clear, to get a good direction, to get concise, because sometimes we can't say something as clearly as something else can. And Chat GPT will go through all the market. It'll go through a market analysis. It'll tell you kind of who's reading what, who's interested in what. So that's how it's used. It's not used to make your manuscript because the ideas have to be yours. It's used to consolidate things, to say things in a more concise way, or I've even used it with marketing stuff because it'll give you ideas about what people are looking for out there. And could I find that on the internet? Yeah, I absolutely could, but that means I have to put everything in, um, and look at it. Whereas if I go into ChatGPT, I could ask for the gender, the age group of people that are reading a specific kind of self-help groups. And what it'll do is it'll come up with an entire list that will give me the statistics on how many people are reading this, how many people were happy with it, how many people were disappointed. So to me, that's huge, especially when you're going to write a book because you like to know, like, I looked up self-help and it said that right now that 85% of people are disappointed with self-help books because self-help books, they found that and further, and you could get some interesting information. And then to me, that tells me, okay, how do I want to tailor something? Do I want to make it more personal? What do I want to do with that? Or perhaps this is a good idea at this time because nobody's looking at those things. So that's why I find it useful. So I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. And the other thing that people don't realize when they're using these programs, you are taking jobs away from humans. If you're having the chat GPT do your copywriting for your website, if you're having it do any of your editing, if you're having it do your photos, your drawing, any of your cover design, your graphs, you're stealing jobs from humans when you're using chat GPT. We're all struggling in this economy. People need jobs, and for a lot of us, this is something that we've devoted our lives to. We either went to school for it or we've become trained through practice, mentoring. Um, and then there's the environmental impacts. Even just writing one email with ChatGPT takes a 16-ounce bottle of water to keep the data centers cool. Data centers are springing up all over the United States. They are between 300 and 500 acres, and those are going on farmland. A lot of people have asked me why I am so anti data centers coming to my area and not the solar farms. You can still plant crops around solar farms, and a solar farm is only going to be 20 or 25 acres. A solar farm is going to produce energy. Data centers, they're energy hogs. When there's power outages or there's extreme heat, the data centers are going to get the priority to keep their electricity, and they will brown out or black out or do scheduled blackouts to anyone else in the community that they think is going to be keeping the electricity from the data centers. Infrastructure, the water, the electricity, all of those, and the rates that we as citizens pay for those things go up dramatically when a data center opens up in the area. Some places are reporting triple increases when we're already receiving electric rate increases because of doing the right thing and shutting down the coal plants and transitioning to solar energy. The data centers cannot rely on solar energy or wind power. That's why when there's a energy crunch, they're getting the priority over the rest of us. On the journalism end of ChatGPT, there are offshore newspapers that will take a legitimate newspaper article and they will rewrite it and quote the wrong people, make up facts. So really, AI and ChatGPT has absolutely no purpose except for the I support it when it's robots doing surgery on people. Today I saw a video where there are AI tractors that are replacing pesticides and herbicides so that we can have organic food and produce without having to spray chemicals. Those are appropriate uses of AI.
Yeah, I think there's so many, you brought up some good points. I think there's so many things, and I agree with you about the photography. I had seen some pictures of people that I know from different groups. And I thought, wow, like I've seen these people in person. And I know that either their face isn't that thin, their body is not that thin. I mean, these were perfect pictures. And I'm thinking to myself, how, because at the time I didn't know they were using AI. And I'm thinking, how did they get these pictures? Because I've had professional photos done recently, and the photographer was very clear with me. He said, if you want the perfect body and you want to look 20 years younger, I am not the photographer for you. He said, I do touch up and I touch up things. He said, but he said, too many people ask me to remove fine lines from the face, to make them thinner, to make their, whatever, if they're standing, to make them thinner, this and that. He said, I don't do that. He said, for that, you have to go to AI if that's what you want. And that wasn't what I wanted, because I wanted a picture that pictures that reflected who I was. And if I'm sitting there 20 pounds lighter and a different look on my face and 20 pounds younger, that's not who I am. So I agree with you. I do not use AI for any photographs or anything like that. Once I started understanding it, it made sense to me why some of these people had so many photographs, different photographs on Facebook, LinkedIn. Not so much LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a little bit different as far as people don't post a lot of different pictures and social things. But, especially Facebook, I'm thinking, wow, these people must be spending a lot of money on photographers, because I know what I spent to get really good pictures. And it took me a while. Maybe I'm a little dense, but it took me a while to realize that they were just flipping through AI. They were getting these pictures, they were posting them, and that's why every week they had a different photo of themselves doing something, a different background, that none of these things were really real. So that's kind of my beef with AI, is I like things real. And I think AI, like you said, it's great. I work in the medical profession, and it's got so many uses. It's got so many uses. And I think we just really have to be cognizant and aware of what we're using it for, and not use it so much to play around with. I think right now a lot of people use AI to play around. And by that, I mean they're using it on social media, just to have a different picture every day, to have a glam shot, to have a different shot, to change the color of their hair. And really, we become like children playing with a new toy. This is like a new toy, and people are playing with it. So I think as us using it, whether we be for authors, whether it be for your own business, I think we have to get real with it and really use it for what we're meant to use it for, and not just play around with it so much, because that's where a lot of waste comes in. If I'm making 20 different photos of myself with 20 different landscapes and posting at 20 different places, well, like you said, I'm using the resources. And do I really need to do that? If I'm using it for a piece of journalism because I need to know certain statistics, I need to know certain regions, what is of interest in this certain region, then it's worth it. But I think we have a tendency to play around with it too much. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I have written a book. It is on Amazon. What else is it on? It's on a lot of different platforms. I'm blanking on the rest at the moment because no one buys from any of them except Amazon. But it's called AI in Writing: Dangers to Creative and Journalistic Writers. It is a good read. It is a short read. It goes, even though it's short, it gives some basic background from when AI was first, excuse me, invented in the 1950s. And then it goes all the way up to the present. And it gives you some stories. Like I mentioned, one of the newspapers near me recently, within the last couple of years, had their one of their stories stolen by one of the offshore AI papers, and the people that the story was about were threatening to sue this large newspaper because of getting the facts wrong until they discovered that the article had been hijacked through an AI paper.
Yeah.
It tells you how to avoid AI, because even if you don't willingly use AI, there's a lot of places where AI is hanging out and you can tell it to stop eavesdropping on you. Microsoft Word, Copilot, you can disable that. You can disable AI in almost every single thing you do, because what Microsoft is doing when you leave the AI turned on in any of your documents, whatever you type, whether it gets published, whether you email it, no matter where it goes, even if it never leaves your computer, your domain, Microsoft is using that content to train their robots. And I don't want to be an experiment. I don't want AI knowing anything I'm doing. I even have my newspaper sites, after the experience I learned, I have it shut down to the AI bots so they can't crawl and take my stories.
Mm. Yeah, you bring some good points. I think, though, with society, the way the world is going in general, everything could be tracked on your phone. Everything could be tracked on this. So right now, everything we do is being monitored. So I think it's really impossible to get away with everything. And like I said, I don't care if I'm used as an experiment, because I'm sure my location, anything I've ever posted, anything I've ever done, um, the powers to be or who's ever out there knows more about me than I know about me. So I think that's just something that in this day and age, with computers and so much technology, that we just really have to put up with. I don't think there's really a way around it. Um, I think, the other point you bring up that's good is that, AI really is artificial. Yeah, it is. But I think how many things in our lives right now are artificial? And I'm going to just go off a little bit of things that really aren't real anymore in our lives. Okay. Right now, you could get anything that you want if you're willing to pay the price for it. You could be on any magazine cover if you're willing to pay for it. You could be in any magazine if you're willing to pay for it. You could be a bestseller with authorship and even New York Times authors if you're willing to pay for it. All these things you could have if you're willing to pay for it. And I think what it does is, not only does it dilute what is real. I remember, I've been around quite a while. I'm in my early 70s. And I remember when awards were awards, they were given for recognition. I had gotten awards over the years, and, I have a policy: I don't pay for anything. If somebody wants me, it has to be truly they want me now for what and who I am, not because I could give them my credit card or pay them for something. And I remember when you were interviewed to get an award, where they really did a deep dive into your work, where they talked to other people about your work. And then you got the award and you got the recognition. That's how you were recognized for doing a good job. Nowadays, I'm not saying there's not good places out there, but nowadays, every day I have somebody telling me they'll give me an award. There's a price tag attached to it. So how important is that award? I could have been on every book cover, every magazine cover I think there is online, which they're not the same. I mean, if you're in Glamour magazine online, it's not the same thing as being in Cosmopolitan or Glamour on the newsstand, or that specific magazine, whether even the Times. Those are different things, and those are real and authentic. But now we've gotten to the point where we could get those things simply because we could pay for them. And it's all ego driven. And I know a lot of people right now are going to be saying, that, oh, she's talking harsh about this and that. Well, I think we need to wake up, and not only with AI, because there are pitfalls. Do we really want our AI pictures splashed all over the place because it makes us look good and makes us have the perfect body? That you go from being a size 10 to a size 6 just by clicking on AI and making that your photo and then posting it all over social media. Uh, why do we do things? And I think that's another thing we need to look at with AI. Are we using it for our ego? Are we using it just to make ourselves look better? Or are we really consciously using AI to try or to make a difference in what we do? Now, with my writing and authorship, I'm trying to make a difference. So when I'm using AI, I'm looking for specific trends. I'm looking for things. Who's reading this stuff? What's the audience out there that may not be served by what is currently out there? Because some of that information, by the time you would dig so deep for it, it would be your whole day. So to me, that's where AI gets useful. Give me ideas. I need something. I need my first paragraph, or if I'm giving a speech or a talk, I need that first paragraph to grab the audience. Because if I can't grab that audience in the first minute, I'm losing them. So AI could help you with that. It could help you trim things down so that you get that this is kind of like, this is the strongest, or this is the most forceful introduction you could have. Like with books, they tell you that um, the best way to do it is to use a lot of personal stories, because people will react more and want to read the stories than they just will if you're just listing things, talking about things. So again, I think it all goes back to who we are. Do we just want to have success at any cost? Or do we really want to be conscious with things and conscientious? And I'd like to get your thoughts on that, what you're thinking about those things and its relationship to AI.
Um, it's definitely always good to do things with intention. However, like I said earlier, I feel those are jobs that humans can do. Anything that a human can do, I just don't feel like ChatGPT should be doing. Um, that's why the writing groups are so important. That's why having editors and ghost and readers, post beta readers after you're done with the book. That's the role that those professionals play in the writing process. And you can learn so much just by sitting in a writing group with other authors and ask, hey, I'm stuck. Literally asking your peers the same things that you would be asking Chat GPT.
Yeah, I agree with you, but sometimes you don't always have access to all those people. Like any group, sometimes it's very active, sometimes you get nobody. So I do agree with you on that. Um, again, I think it's got its value. I think we have to be careful with things. I don't think there's ever anything that we shouldn't be careful with. We're really entering an age of really rapid and advanced technology and AI. It's not going away. I doubt that it's ever going to go away because the world is changing. If you look at how we do things, even just over the past year, things have changed. And some of that, people know I like to dabble in astrology. So I will use an example from astrology is for 25 years. It ended in 2025, but for 25 years, Saturn sat in Capricorn. Saturn likes rules, regulations, organizations. It likes telling other people what to do. That's its role as a planet. Well, then you look at Capricorn. Capricorn says, "Oh, I love it. I love structure. I love rules. Help me do this. Tell me what to do." Well, now, and this is what the age of Aquarius means, that Saturn has moved into Aquarius, and that's a whole different ballgame because Aquarius is independent. And Aquarius says, I could do things. I don't need somebody telling me what to do. And Saturn says, but I'm your teacher. I'm telling you what to do. This is the structure. This is how we're going to do it. And Aquarius says, no, no, no. You're not going to tell me everything that I need to do. I have a brain. I'm an individual. It starts bucking the system. And if you look at structure, even starting 2025, a lot of breakdown in our structure, whether it be on the local, the state, the government level, religious level. You see a lot of people questioning a lot of things that they didn't before. And that's the influence from the skies. So people could take that however they want. I know some people believe in the connection, other people think there's no connection. But I just thought that I would throw that out there, that, that structure, everything is changing. And in certain ways, we need to embrace all those changes, including AI, whether it comes with pitfalls or whether it's perfect. So I say, I'm going to use my parting words and then I'll give it over to you, Steph. I say be conscientious how you're using things. Always have your intention that whatever you're doing, that you want to do it for the highest good, that you want to do it to bring people together, that you don't want to use something to separate people, to cause chaos. And with AI, think about how important is it for you to have some of the things that AI has to offer, or could you forego some of those things in AI? Those are my parting words. What do you have to say, Steph?
My parting words are, if you want to learn more about this, go on to Amazon and buy my ebook. It's only $3.99 or $4.99. It's short, 30 pages. It's got, like I said, great tips and tools in it, things to think about. Otherwise, just support your local human artists, your editors, your writers, your photographers, your artists. Don't use AI just for fun and games, and don't overload any of your socials with pictures of you, because another thing that AI is doing now is there are AI programs where you can take any picture, use the eraser, and it erases their clothes.
Oh,
So just be careful what you do, period. Those are my closing words.
Yeah, thank
or
you.
Or clothing words.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Again, I don't think AI could ever replace humans. I mean, for books, the recommendation is that you get an editor. The recommendation is never ever that you use AI. For any kind of editing, for anything like that, it's always use a human being. And even with self-publishing, I know a lot of people do everything themselves. But I think even with self-publishing, you have to have an editor. You have to know somebody that knows the industry, that knows how to edit your book for publication, regardless of who's going to be publishing it. So I would also like to leave people with that. And I would never, ever use an AI photo in a book. I wouldn't use it as my photo. I wouldn't use it as photos for different things. I would go to, if I need photos, I would go to someone, a human being, to help me out. So thank you, Steph. We had a really interesting conversation, and I think people are getting a lot out of this. And as always, we give the information, we try to help out. But in the end, it's always the individual's decision as to what they are going to do, how they're going to use the information, even if they are going to use the information. Whatever resonates with you is what's right for you. And with that, thank you for joining us today.